Before I suppose begin my substantive points, it's one of the benefits of sharing the chairing duties with yourself is that you do get to listen in depth and in detail in some of the debates. And I would say much of the debate here has been good. And I don't know if anybody has eulogised this budget. I think everybody across the House has pointed to aspects that they believe is good. I know Deputy O'Donnell acknowledged that no budget is perfect. And I would take issue with some of the language I've heard around cruelty or systemic discrimination or utter failure of a budget. And I would say, I wouldn't say that every one among us of the 160 who are here are all universally good people. But I don't think there's very many cruel people or very many bad people here. And if there are, I'm sure no particular party or no particular side of the House has the monopoly on that. I think most people are here to try and do a good job to represent their constituents as best as they can. We have differences in terms of political philosophies of how that can be achieved. Even within the coalition, I think we'd acknowledge that as well. But I think most people are here to try and do the best they possibly can by the constituents they represent. This might be a contested statement, but I think this is a progressive budget, the third such progressive budget. I don't just think it. In fact, it has been analysed and been shown to be progressive. I want to acknowledge some of the points that people raised with respect to the lone parent groups. But I would say in successive budgets, we are making headway on this. And I know a piece of research commissioned by my colleague, Minister Joe O'Brien from the RSI, which looked at that issue of poverty. And they found that the working family payment is possibly the most impactful tool in terms of tackling poverty within that cohort. And within that context, we have to acknowledge the significant progress that has been made in terms of the working family payment in this budget. I think it will impact a lot of people who are affected and in that poverty trap. The Minister outlined those 11 lump sum payments, and we know that there are two elements in this budget. We know that there's the element whereby we're trying to increase social welfare payments across the board, but also we have those one-off payments. We do acknowledge that plus €12 on social welfare payment, it is a substantial increase, but we do have to acknowledge that it doesn't keep pace with inflation. I know the one-off payments are designed to help fill that hole, but I do think in the longer term, and I would agree with some of my colleagues on the far side of the House, we do have to look at benchmarking those payments, be it on the MESL, be it looking at that kind of income smoothing approach that's outlined in the Pathways to Work document. That is something that we have to begin moving towards. Minister, I just want to mention one thing which it may not belong in this bill, but it does belong in your department, and that's a contact that I had from Epilepsy Ireland, and they were talking about the extension of the free travel pass to people who are precluded from driving. They made a pre-budget submission. It's a good and detailed pre-budget submission, and when you factor through all of the people who suffer from epilepsy, and not all of those are precluded from driving at all times, they arrive at a figure which isn't an enormous sum of money that could make quite a substantial difference to people, particularly I think of people in rural areas such as the one that you represent, such as the one that I represent, where if you're precluded from driving, that does make a difference in how you live your life and how you access your services. So perhaps that's something you may be able to look at outside of the parameters of this bill. But what I would say is, as Deputy O'Donnell said, no budget is perfect, but I think this is a good one, and it does its best to be kind and fair to those people across society who really do need help from the state in what is an extremely challenging time.